Thank you, Liz. If you or anyone you know ever went through either physical or verbal abuse as a child, you know how damaging that can be to that person as he or she gets older. Here now to talk about that, Bart and Ruth Schofield, both marriage and family therapists. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for coming in.
Morning.
Talking about a very important topic. So we often talk about child abuse and what happens to kids, but there are signs that later in life that people are still being affected by this. What is this, Bart?
Well, there are several signs. One of them is a succession of poor relationships, and that can be in friendship, business, romantic relationships, also in jobs, lower paying jobs, jobs where they really are not being appreciated, they're being exploited.
Sure. I think we also see you say trust issues and even symptoms of PTSD as well.
Yes, it very often includes symptoms of PTSD, and in fact, it can be full-blown PTSD if it were physical harm that was done.
Okay, so these are the symptoms that we see the results of this as an adult. Now, for kids, it's something that teachers, parents, families, and friends should still be aware of. There's symptoms that show maybe they're being abused, and it's not necessarily just physical, but also verbal abuse. I think you talk about kids having angry outbursts. It may not just be because they're not being well behaved.
Yep. Children don't understand the feelings that they have many times because their whole systems haven't fully developed. So what happens is they get angry, and they have these angry outbursts, and they'll fight among each other.
Absolutely.
And you'll wonder, why are these two siblings fighting with each other? There can be other signs too. Again, very poor self-image.
Yeah.
And a feeling that they have to try to be perfect, and they don't quite know what perfect is.
Absolutely. Now, Ruth, particularly for adults, if we see these symptoms, say, in ourselves, how can we go ahead and deal with that, and what's the best way to get treated?
Well, gee, what a surprise. I say we should go for therapy.
Yeah. But really, it does make a difference, and may not be incident, maybe over the course of time.
Right. What we see is that people will either underdress or overdress. We see that in females particularly.
Gotcha.
We see the prisons full of males who have been abused physically, emotionally, sexually.
Sure.
One of the problems we face is that so much of the abuse takes place in the home. 80% of it is with their own father.
Sure.
Or the stepfather. And so it becomes a hidden secret, and children are afraid to tell. And so frequently what we see is that the adults have blocked it out. They haven't really forgotten it per se, but they just don't keep it current in their minds. And when they come into a safe relationship or a safe place in their life, usually 30 plus, they suddenly go, oh my gosh, look what happened to me. And there's flooding, and so then they become sometimes immobilized, sometimes they just become very deeply depressed, anxious, withdrawn, or they go to the opposites. They become hyper involved in their job. They work really, really hard, long, hard hours.
Kind of overcompensate
That's
in
correct.
that way. If you think this is you, or if you know people in that situation, best advice, get them to go talk with somebody, because it really never is too late.
Right.
Bart and Ruth Schofield, thank you so much for coming in this morning. A very important topic. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Matt.